All right. So the other day in my email, I asked people to send me, parents and athletes to send me questions, anything training, nutrition, anything sports performance related, basically. So hopefully this will help me get an idea better what people struggle with. I can make more content that'll be more useful to people and not waste people's times, basically, or my time. So I got a couple questions right off the bat the other day. The first one is this kid's dad. And the kid's doing great at the gym, by the way. I love this kid, and he's made tons of progress. But he's throwing faster. He's getting some interest from colleges. There's two problems that he sees that he can improve upon: his diet and sleep. Any suggestions for me on how to get him to get bed earlier without his phone, improve diet would be great. So he doesn't think he sees the importance of these two things. So you nailed it right off the bat. Right off the bat, he doesn't see the importance of the two things, and it's because there's a few factors for this, and I'll kind of knock this down step by step here. But one, they don't see the benefit. A lot of teenagers aren't going to see the benefit because they're not pushing their upper limits of performance yet. They're still young. They still haven't hit their peak of performance. So the smaller things become more important as you reach your maximum physical capacities, basically. So diet and sleep are going to be way more important for a 25-year-old or somebody trying to get into the pros than for a high school kid. Or and so let's say there are a professional athlete. Diet and sleep for a 32-year-old that's trying to stay in the pros an extra 3-4 years is going to be way more important than for a high school kid. Now, a high school kid can benefit a lot from getting better sleep and better nutrition. I'm not saying that they can't, but it's like you grab the low-hanging fruit first. So, I mean, a lot of these kids come to my gym because they know getting stronger is, I wouldn't say it's easy, but if you do it, it's going to work, especially in the beginning, especially for a new kid to training, it's going to work. So you grab that low-hanging fruit, just like with training stuff. Like we do the easy stuff first. We grab the low-hanging fruit first before we get more complicated. So it's the same thing with this. They don't see the benefit because they recover, no matter what they eat or how much they sleep, they're still going to recover pretty well because they're teenagers and they have tons of hormones. But with that being said, if you really want to maximize everything that you're putting into it, you definitely need to get sleep and you definitely need to eat pretty good. So those two things are super important. And then the next thing I'm going to say, and like some people, I know a lot of people don't like when you say this, but if you're not committed enough, you'll never, like, these are two of the harder things to do. Showing up to the gym. Some kids can't even show up to the gym. It's just like they're not committed enough to do that. So, some kids aren't committed enough to actually play, to practice on their own. Some kids aren't going to be committed. There's different levels of commitment as you go along the spectrum, right? So, some kids aren't going to be committed enough to show up to the gym twice a week. Some kids aren't going to be committed enough to show up to the gym 3 times a week, 4 times a week. Some kids aren't going to be committed enough to train in season. Take it to the next step. Some kids, and he's doing all these things, so I'm not calling him out for that at all. But some kids will not be committed enough to get more sleep or get better sleep, and some kids won't be committed enough to clean up their diet or eat enough calories. Because as we know, as a baseball player, mass equals gas. You're not going to be able to hit the ball with any relative amount of power or throw the ball hard enough if you don't have enough mass behind you, a muscle mass. So the nutrition becomes important there, especially eating enough calories. So it does become a commitment level. Our most committed athletes are going to be, I've trained a couple of kids, especially in college and stuff, they're super committed. They take care of the small details on everything, and it pays off in the long run. But they're also pushing their more upper limits of performance at this point, too, right? So they haven't, they've been training probably for a long time, and they, as the gains start to slow down from training, they get harder and harder to make gains the better you get, and the more advanced you get, and the longer you've been doing it. So then you say, what can I do to get some more improvements? Well, the next thing would be sleep. The next thing would be diet, right? So that's where we are. All right, so to get the buy-in for both of these things, one, they need to understand the importance, right? They need to understand the importance. And, that could be a very difficult thing to explain to a 16-year-old or a 15-year-old or a 17-year-old, right? So, that's where it is with that. And now some of the things you could actually do though, and to improve sleep and nutrition. So for sleep, one, you have to get the phone off, like a considerable amount of time before you actually go to sleep. Okay. Realize also that it's not how much you sleep sometimes, but it's also when you sleep. So sleeping from 1 a.m. to 9 a.m. is 8 hours, but it's not the same as sleeping from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Okay? Because we know that the best sleep that you're going to get is between 10 and 2. That's going to be your deepest sleep. And when you miss that, you could sleep 8 hours, but you still might not get good quality sleep. Okay? You're missing your deep sleep. So that's one. The second thing would be you have to get the phone off because it tricks your, like the screens on the phone, and you could set a dimmer on that too. So like I personally on my phone at 8 o'clock, my phone dims down and the blue light kind of shuts the blue light off. So it's a lot dimmer, but and it's more like a yellowish tint. It takes the blue light off because the blue light is what tricks your body into thinking it's the middle of the day when it's actually the middle of the night. So you can't fight evolution, and we've evolved to basically, for millions of years, we went to bed at sundown and got up at sunrise. Millions of years. So now, the past 100 years, we have electricity. Your body, we haven't adapted to that. It's going to take a long time, if ever, if we as humans, if we actually adapt to that. So, going to bed at midnight and getting up at 10 a.m. when it's been light out for 6 hours already or 4 hours already is not. Our bodies aren't used to that, so it throws us all out of whack. So make sure you're getting the blue lights off before they get into bed. Just shut the phone off. You have to, it's just, again, it's a commitment thing. You have to be able to say, I'm shutting my phone off at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, I'm going to bed. I don't know what else I could say about that, but those are just the facts. You need to sleep, get your most sleep between 10 and 2, even if it's 11 and 2, better than 1 and 2. Shut those blue lights off. You have to get away from that stuff. At least dim your phone, and you have to make habits out of it. With sleep and with nutrition, you have to have it has to become a habit. So let's do small things first, create habits. So maybe he's been sleeping from 12 to 6 every day. Now we're going to say we got to get 6.5 instead of 6 hours. So we're going to go to bed 11:30 and sleep from 11:30 to 6. That gives us 6 hours, 6.5 hours, and do that for maybe a month or 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Usually they say 21 to 28 days, I think, to develop the habit. So maybe like for 3 weeks we go to bed at 11:30, and then we try to move it to 11, and then 10:30, and we just keep moving it up. That's the way I would do it. The other thing would be for nutrition, you have to start tracking it. So I actually did a whole video on, you scroll my YouTube channel, I did a whole video on how to use the MyFitnessPal app to track nutrition. It's free, it's simple. The kids could do it probably easier than the adults can do it on their phone. They're just better at that stuff. So start tracking it. You don't know where you're messing up until you're tracking it, and you don't start to clean up until you're actually writing it down. It works for everybody, I'm telling you. Once you start tracking it, you see, oh my God, there's that much sugar in that, there's that much fat in this, there's that much calories in this. I know I'm not eating enough So it just depends. If with the nutrition, it depends if I'm not sure if we need to clean up nutrition or we need to actually eat more to gain more weight. I'm not sure what you're asking with that, but nutrition is definitely going to be key, as and that's just like sleeping. Nutrition is going to become really important. So start tracking it, and then we could start to sit down and actually gives us something to talk about and to look at. Well, you screwed up here. You screwed up here. You need more calories. You need more protein. I don't know. It could be more carbs. It could be eating too much garbage. We got to cut these things out. Okay, and that's it's just one step at a time. Once you start tracking it for a few weeks, you get in the habit of actually thinking about what you're eating, when you're eating, and that's how you're going to start. The other thing I have to say about that is if you want to get more in depth of that with meal plans and body fat and all that stuff, which could be really helpful, sometimes that creates buy-in. So I would say, let me know. I'll give you the number to the nutritionist. A lot of our kids use them. It's great. I go to them. So it just gets you focused in terms of nutrition. And sometimes, just like kids that go to the high school weight room versus coming here, you're paying $200 a month to come here. The buy-in is going to be bigger, right? If I'm sitting down and I'm, kind of helping them with nutrition, doing it for free, sometimes there's no buy-in to that, right? So if you spend a couple $100 on a nutritionist, there'll be a lot more buy-in to that. That's just my two thoughts there. Again, anything I could do to help, just let me know. But those were where I would start. And I know actually with your son, I did do the. I went through the MyFitnessPal app with him, I think, with that, and we started talking about that. But I haven't seen. Tell him to show me what he's been eating and bring it in, and I can help him with that. So, but yeah, I mean, the sleep, the studies and the statistics on the sleep, they're important. But again, teenagers are going to get away with more than adults can get away with, or more experienced veteran athletes. So keep that in mind. But I bet it's going to be making the habit of actually doing that. Is he committed enough to do it? Is he on that level yet? Is his commitment there? If not, then there's nothing you could really do. I mean, you could take his phone away at 10 o'clock every night.